Hello everyone, welcome to WebDev Warrior. In today's video, we're going to build a full stack Q&A platform using MERN stack from scratch. We're going to use Next.js, TypeScript, Tailwind CSS, SharesAnyway in our frontend, and we are going to use Node.js, MongoDB, Express.js, JWT in our backend. We're going to build this project from scratch. We're going to build the back end as well as the front end here. So first, let me show you a full demo of this amazing web application. So this is our landing page. So if I reload, you can see here we have scroll effect. Here we have our logo, our dark mode, light mode. So if you click here, it will switch to the dark mode, and if you click here it will back to the light mode. Here we have a sign in button and we have an admin login. So this is our hero section. We have some information, and here we have our questions for our Q&A platform. So this is the anonymous user that posted a questions about ChatGPT versus Gemini. Here we have another one, this person Jason. Here he asked what is SharesAnyway, and this is waiting for the answer. These both are waiting for answer. This is another question, what is TypeScript, and this question have answer. You can see it marked as answered, and we have our answer here. We have another question with answer, what is React.js, and here we have the answer. So this is our general landing page. And now let's first sign in. And for the sign in, you can sign up as a user. You can sign in as a user. So I already have account. So you don't have any account, so you need to create your account first. So let's create a account first. Let's use Naruto. The email naruto@gmail.com. Let's use a password here, and if I click here it will create our account. So our account created, and here you can see now you have the option to ask a question. So let's add a question. So you can add your name here or you can make it anonymous. So let's use the name Naruto here, and let's ask the question is, let's say, Madara versus Sasuke, who will win? Let's submit this question, and you can see the question submitted. Here we have the question, we have the name, we have the date, and this question is waiting for the answer. Awesome. So you can ask the questions after you sign up to this project. Then here you have a options. If you click here, you can go to your profile or you can sign up. Let's go to the profile. So this is your profile, and we will implement this profile page also. And here you can see your information, your name, your email, the number of question you asked, the number of answer you get, and the pending question. And here it will show you the member scenes, and you have the option to sign up. So this is for the general user, the user that will asked the question. So now I'm going to sign up, and if I sign up it says log out successfully, and we are back to our landing page, and now we don't have the question box. Now let's log in as an admin. So if I click here to admin, so this is the admin login. So we already have the admin credential created. So here I need to provide the admin email and admin password to access the admin dashboard. So here I'm going to add my admin email and then the admin password. And if I click here to sign in, so login successful. And for the admin, we don't have the question box because the admin will answer the question, not ask the question. And here if I click to the super admin, and then if I go to the dashboard, and you can see we have a very beautiful dashboard for the admin. So here we have the total number of question, the number of answer question, the pending question, and the total number of user. Here we have the recent activities. Here you can see someone asked a question 2 minutes ago, someone asked 4 hours ago, 9 hours ago, 11 hours ago, 12 hours ago. And these two have answered, that's why marked as answered. And these three have pending. And here you can see we have a very beautiful graph chart. So here this day have no question, but here in Saturday we have total 5 question asked and 2 question answered. So this is our chart. I'm going to show you how you can create this chart, and this is the real time data, not some static data. This data is coming from our backend. And here we have the response rate, the average question per user, and the most active day is the Saturday. 5 questions submitted. So this is our dashboard. Then you can go to the questions. So this is the questions. Here you will have all the questions that the user asked, and you can answer this question. So let's answer these questions. So for me, I will say Madara, and I'm going to click here to submit the answer, and you can see answer submitted, and here you can see your answer. If you want, you can also answer this too, and here you can see it marked as answered. Then we have this users. So here we have all three users, the number of users and total questions. So we have Naruto, Jason, and this is myself, and the number of questions they asked. So 3 questions, 1 questions, 1 questions. Then we have this setting, but we don't have any setting button. And you can see we implemented the dark mode also. How awesome it is. You can see how great it looks in the dark mode also. You can go to the question pages, users, and you can see we also have the loading animations. You can do this also. Awesome. So let's go to the home page, and this application is fully mobile responsive. So if I show you the responsiveness, so if I inspect and select a mobile device, so this is our main landing page, and you can see everything fit perfectly, no overflow, and this section looks amazing. Let's go to the dashboard, and you can see our dashboard is also mobile responsive. We have this sidebar which looks amazing. We have our chart, our recent activities, our response rates. Awesome. And let's go to the question page. So this page is also responsive. Let's go to the users. It's also responsive. So all of our pages are fully mobile responsive. So this is a great project that you can add to your resume, or you can add it to your portfolio to impress your client. So in this video, I'm going to teach you everything from scratch. I'm going to start from the scratch and go to all the way to the deployment. So I'm going to teach you how you can use Node.js as a backend, how you can set up your backend, how you can work with it, how you can work with JWT authentications, how you can create your API, how you can ensure the security, the role management, because here we have admin and a regular user, so we have both users. So I'm going to teach you how you can handle this. I'm going to teach you how you can create models, controllers, routes, and how you can create APIs. Then I'm going to teach you how you can add this API to your front-end Next.js applications, how you can work with that, how you can use Axios, how you can work with cookies and all of this. So there's a lot of things that you are going to learn from this video, and we're going to use pure MERN stack, no other libraries or other things. We're going to use the pure Node.js, Express.js, and MongoDB. And in the front end, we're going to use Next.js, TypeScript, Shadcn UI, and all of this. So I encourage you to watch the full video for better understanding. And the source code of this project will be given in the descriptions. You can check it out. And if you have any question related to this project, you can ask me in the comment section. So without wasting any time, let's start building this amazing Q&A platform together. Now we are going to set up our project. So I'm going to create a new folder inside my PC and I'm going to name it Q&A YT. And then I'm going to open it with my Visual Studio Code. And here I'm going to close this GitHub and I'm going to open a new terminal. And then here I'm going to create two folders. First one is frontend, and then I'm going to create another folder called backend. So first we're going to start working with our backend, and after completing the backend we're going to start working on our frontend. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to first cd to my backend, and then here in the backend I'm going to create a app.js, and I'm going to create a server.js. That's it. Then here in the terminal I'm going to use npm init and then hit enter. So we need to name the package. So the package name, let's say Q&A. The version can say description, let's say Q&A app using Next.js and Node.js. And then hit enter, text command, git repository, keyword, author, let's say my name, then hit enter, and then yes. So this will create a package.json here. So you can see here we have a package.json, we have name, version, and all of this. So here for the test I'm going to remove it, and for the start I'm going to use nodemon. So nodemon will always watch our code, and when I hit save it will rerun our script. So we do not need to manually rerun our script again and again. That's why I'm using nodemon. If you don't have nodemon, you can install nodemon, or you can search in the browser by nodemon, and here you can go to their documentations, the npm package for nodemon, and from here you can install the nodemon, and you can see it have a highly download rate. So let's go back to our project. So that's why I'm using nodemon server.js, and the server.js will be our entry point. Now let's go to the server.js, and here if I use a console log and let's say logging from backend, and here we need to use npm start and hit enter, and you can see we have logging from backend. Awesome. That means we can use our script to run our backend. And the good thing is, so by using this nodemon we can just change. So let's change this text and let's say hello from server.js and server.js, and if I hit save it will rerun our script, and now it's a hello from the server. Awesome. So we can now start our code here. So I'm going to remove this and hit save. Next what we need to do is we need to install some packages. So here I'm going to stop the terminal from now. I'm going to clear the terminal, and I'm going to use this npm I, and I'm going to install all of these packages. So if you want you can screenshot this to check which package I'm downloading. So here first I'm installing a bcrypt.js. This is for the password encryption. So in our project we are going to do some authentication system, build a JWT authentication system, and for that we're going to use bcrypt.js to encrypt our user password. Then we have cookie parser. For cookie management, we have course to ensure that the front end and back end are connected properly. Then we have .env so that we can use a configuration environment files. We have express, we're going to use express.js. Express Mongoose sanitize, this is for some security reason. Then we have express rate limit, this is also for security. HBS is also for security. Helmet is for security. HPP is for security. Then we have JSON web token. This is our JWT. We are going to use this in our authentication. Then we have our Mongoose. We have Morgan. This is for logging. Then we have a validator to validate our user information like the email if it is in the correct email format. And to do this type of stuff, we're going to use the validator. So these are the packages that we need for our backend. So I'm going to hit enter to install all of these packages. So it's installing. Let's wait some time to complete this installation. The installation is completed. Now we have a packet log.json and node module. So first in the app.js, I'm going to use a const express and I'm going to require express. And then I'm going to create a app and I'm going to use express here. So const add and express I'm going to call it, and then I'm going to export. So we are going to use module dot exports and we're going to export our app. That's it. Next, let's go to the server.js, and in the server.js at the top I'm going to use mongoose. So we're going to import mongoose here. We're going to use mongoose when we connect our database. So I'm going to require mongoose, and then we are going to import a .env, and we're going to require it from .env. Now here what I'm going to do is in our backend I'm going to create a environment file. So I'm going to use config.env. So these are configuration file, and here let's say our we can use a node env. So now it's development. When we deploy this, we are going to change this to production. So these are configure.env file. Now let's go to the server.js, and here what I'm going to use is .env.config, and we are going to specify the path of our environment variable. So here the path is ./config.env. That's it. Now let's console log process dot env dot node env. So here I'm going to use npm start to run our script, and here you can see we have our development environment variable. That means we successfully configure our environment variable and we get the environment variable using this process.env. That's it. After this we are going to import the app and make sure the configuration file at the top, because this is the top of our server and we want that .env file is accessible to the app.js also. That's why it will be at the top. And here we're going to require app, and this one will be ./app. That's it. Now we are going to connect the database in our project. So here for the database, we're going to use MongoDB database. So first I'm going to open a browser and I'm going to search for MongoDB, and then I'm going to open their website, the MongoDB website database, and here I'm going to sign in, and I'm going to log in using my Google. So I already have account. If you don't have any account, you can create one for free here. So this is my dashboard in MongoDB. So here I'm going to click here to MongoDB Atlas, and here I have one project 0. So here I'm going to create a new project and I'm going to name it Q&A YT, and then I'm going to click here to next, and here I am going to be the project owner, so I'm going to click here to create project, and then I'm going to click here to create a cluster, and here I'm going to use the free version, and then I'm going to click here to create deployment. So here I need to solve this, so let's solve this. So now here you have to give a username and a password. You can change the username from here, you can change the password from here. So first time what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my Visual Studio Code and then open my config.env, and here I'm going to create a db username and I'm going to create a db password and a db string. So I'm creating this three environment variable. Now let's go here. So first I'm going to copy the username from here and paste it here. Then the password I'm going to copy it from here and then I'm going to paste it here. Let's add this double quotation here also. That's it. So now I'm going to click here to create database user, and then I'm going to click here to choose a connection method, and here I'm going to click here to drivers, and we are using Node.js, and this is our database string. So here you can show your password here, or you can click here to hide your password. So I'm going to click here to hide my password, and I'm going to copy this string, configuration string from here, and then I'm going to paste it here, and here in this line I'm going to change it to password, and the app name will be, let's say, Q&A YT. That's it. So this is my db, and then I'm going to click here to done. So it's done now. Next we need to do some things. So here you need to go to the database and network access, and then the IP access list, and here you need to add an IP, allow access from anywhere, and then confirm. So this will add all the IP address. So that's it. Now let's go to our project, and here let's go to the server.js, and here first what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a db variable, and here I'm going to use process.end.db. So this is our db, and we are going to replace this password with this db password. So by doing this, it will add extra security layer in our database connection. So dot replace
and here we are going to replace password with process dot env dot db password. That's it. And now we can console log our db, and let's go to the backend and run our project using npm star. And here we have our connection string with our password also. Awesome. Let's remove this console log from here, and now we're going to use mongoose dot connect. We're going to pass our db, and dot then we're going to console log. We're going to console log that db connection successful. That's it. And then we're going to dot catch. Sorry, here we don't have this. And then after then we have dot catch, and we are going to catch any error here, and then we're going to console log the error. That's it. And here we don't have this. So mongoose.connect, we are going to pass our db dot then we are going to console log that the db connection successful, or if we have any error we will console log the error. This is our MongoDB connection. Next, in the config.env, I am going to create a port. The port will be 8000, or so here this will be just 8000. So let's go to the server, and here we'll get our port from process.env dot port. If it is not defined, we're going to add 3000. That's it. Then we're going to create a server, and the server will be app.listen. We're going to listen here, and we're going to pass the port, and then we're going to run a callback function, and here we're going to console log, and we're going to add a template literal, and this one will be app running on port, and then we're going to pass the port. That's now if I hit save, and here you can see app running on port 8000, and our DB connection is successful. That means our server is running properly, as well as our database connection is complete. We successfully able to connect our database in our project. Awesome. Next, we are going to add some security settings in our project. So let's go to the add, and then at the top we're going to first import some packages. So first const, we're going to import cookie parsers, and we're going to require this from cookie parser. Next, we're going to import helmet, and we're going to require this from helmet. Next, we're going to import course, require it from course. Then we are going to import Morgan, require it from Morgan. Then we're going to import the rate limit, and we're going to require this from express rate limit. Then we are going to import Mongo sanitize, Mongo sanitize, Mongo sanitize, and we're going to require this from express Mongo sanitize. That's it. Next, after this, what we need to do is we need to use app.use. So app.use, and then we are going to first pass our cookie parser. So this is the middleware. So we are going to pass cookie parser as a middleware here, and this will run between the request and response cycle. So here we have an error. Let's see that cannot access app. So we need to add the app at the top because it cannot access the app here. So now the error is gone. So app.use cookie parser. So this will ensure our cookie management. Then we're going to use app.use. Then we're going to use helmet. That's it. Then we're going to use app.use, and we're going to use the course, and here we're going to pass a object and the origin. So here the origin will be an array, and here we need to pass our front end URL. So first let's use http://localhost 3000, because we are going to use Next.js, and Next.js run in localhost 3000. That's it. And when we deploy our project, we are going to add the deployed front-end URL here also. Otherwise, there will be a course error, a access error in your project that you face more oftenly in the full stack project. And after the origin, here we're going to use a credentials to true. That's it. Next, we're going to use app. So this one is for limit requests from the same IP. So from a same IP, we're going to add a limiter of how many requests they can send in a minute or in hour. So that's why we're using a limiter here. I'm going to use const limiter, and I'm going to use rate limit. So rate limit, and we're going to pass an object and the windows window ms will be 60 into 60 into 1000. So this is basically 1 hour. That's it. and then we're going to use the max. The maximum request is 10,000. You can use your own version. You can use 1,000, 5,000, 10,000. So here this one is limit each IP to 10,000 requests per window millisecond. Then we are going to pass a message here. The message will be too many requests from this IP, please try in an hour. That's it. And then we're going to use a standard headers will be true. So this return rate limit info in the rate limit headers. So this will just return a rate limit information to the rate limit header, and then we're going to use a legacy headers to false. So disable the X rate limit headers. That's it. This is our limiter. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use app dot use, and here we're going to use it in our API route only. So we're going to apply this limiter to our API routes only. So that's why we're going to use /API and then limiter. That's it. Then we're going to check if process dot environment, if the environment is development, then we're going to show a development log. So here let's use the development logging, and here we're going to use app.use Morgan, and we're going to pass depth. That's it. So this will add a Morgan logging. That's it. After that, we're going to use body parser, reading data from the body into rec.body, and here I'm going to use amp.use express. So here we'll have express dot JSON, and here the limit will be 10 KB. So when we work with the front end, we're going to send data from the front end to backend, and this data will be available in request.body. And here we are using this express.json to access this body request body data, and we set a limiter of 10 KB of data at a time. That's it. Then we're going to use data sanitization against NoSQL query injections. We're using this sanitization to work against the NoSQL query injection. And here we're going to use amp.use, and we're going to use rec, res, and next. So basically here we will get a request, a response, and to call the next medallion. And inside this we're going to use Mongo sanitize dot sanitize, and we're going to pass the rec dot body, and then Mongo sanitize dot sanitize rec dot params, and then we're going to use const query copy, and we're going to copy everything from rec.query, and then we're going to use mongo sanitize, and we're going to pass the query copy. So we're sanitize the query also, and then we're going to use rec dot query sanitized will be query copy. That's it. Optionally, we are storing it in our query. So here we have a bracket that we mistakenly removed. So rec dot query sanitized query copy, and then we're going to call our next middleware. That's it. So this is our sanitize. Then we're going to add a demo middleware here using app.use, and we will get request response and next, and inside this we are just going to call our next. But here we are using this to log sometimes to see what our middleware is giving us. So this is a test middleware. So let's say this is the test middleware. That's it. So this is our security measurement that we can add to every project that we work on, and this will ensure the security of our project. So you can just copy all of these, you can see, and you can just write it. You do not need to understand the concept inside this. You can just use this in your project. So this is a separate topics, and this is the topics of security. You can just use these basics security measurement to your project to make your project more secure. So this is it for our security settings. Now we're going to implement some error handling mechanism in our project to handle our error more properly. So what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to create a utils folder, and here I'm going to create a catching.js. So when we start working with our controller function, in the controller function we always need to write try catch block in the controller. So to avoid this, we are going to create a catching function that will catch our error, and we do not need to write the catching try catch again and again in our controller. So in the catching, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use module dot exports, and then we are receiving a function, and here we're going to return a request response and next, and here we're going to call our function with request dot response and next, and then we're going to catch an error and we're going to pass the next. So this simple function will make sure that we do not need to write the try catch block in our controller function again and again. We are just going to use this catching function. Awesome. Next, in the utils, I'm going to create a app error class. So I'm going to create a app error dot js here, and here I'm going to create a class, and I'm going to name it app error, and this will extend the error class, and here we need to use the constructor, and in the constructor we are going to pass the message and the status code. We will get the message and the status code in our constructor, and we need to call the super here and pass the message because the error class needs the message. That's it. Then after the super we are going to use this dot status code will be the status code that we receive, and then we'll get the status here. So we're going to use a template literal, and we are going to use our status code. If the status code is start with, if it is start with 4, then we are going to make it a fail. Sorry, it's not inside this. If it starts with 4, then if it starts with 4, then we will make it a fail, otherwise this will be error. That's it. Then we're going to use error dot capture stack trace, and we're going to pass these and this dot constructor. That's it. Then we're going to use module dot exports, and we are going to export our app error class. So this is our app error class that extends the error class, and in the constructor we are receiving a message and a status code. We're going to call the super with the message, then this dot status code, we are going to add the status code as this dot status code, and we are going to find the status based on the status code. If it is start with 4, we're going to use fail, otherwise we're going to use error. Then we're going to use error dot capture stack trace stack trace, and we're going to pass this and this dot constructor. This will give us where the error happened in our project. And finally we are exporting our app error. So this is our app error class. Next we're going to create a folder inside my backend, and we're going to name it controller. So this is our controller folder, and here I'm going to create a error controller.js, and here I'm going to use module.exports, and we're going to export. We'll get error, request, response, and next, and then inside this we're going to use error.status code. So this one will be error dot status code. If it is not defined, we're going to make it 500. Then error dot status will be error dot status. Otherwise, if it is not defined, we're going to make it error. Then we're going to use res dot status. We're going to send a response, and we're going to use error dot status code, and then dot json, and inside this we're going to pass the status, and this one will be error dot status, and then the message will be error dot message. Then the error, we're going to pass the total error, and then the stack will be error dot stack. So this is the response that we are going to send when we have any error. That's next we need to go to the app.js, and here at the top I'm going to use const, and we're going to name it global error handler, and I'm going to use require, and here we're going to require it from dot slash controller slash error controller. That's it. Next here we will have our actual route first. So here we will have our actual routes. For example, the user route, the admin route, and the question route. After that, we will have a test route. So test route. And here I'm going to use app.get. We'll add a get request and slash. This one will be just slash. And then we are going to use reqres as the callback function. And here I'm going to use red.status, and this one will be 200.json, and inside this we're going to pass the status. Yes, the status is success, and a message. The message is just for testing the server is working fine. That's it. So this is the test route. Now if you go to the any browser and go to the localhost 8000 and hit enter, you will get the status is success and the message is just for testing the server is working fine. Awesome. That means our server is works perfectly here. We can get data from the backend. Awesome. So after the test route, we'll have a app.use, and we'll get rec.res.next. So after making it here, that means first, so in Node.js in the Express, the request response work by top to bottom. So it will first find the request here, the actual route. If it is not found, then it will get down to here. So if the route that the user trying to access is not defined, then we're going to run this. So here we will get request, response, and next, and we're going to run it, and we're going to call our next, and we're going to use our new app error class, and here we need to pass a message and a status code. For the message we're going to use can't find, and then we're going to use request.original URL. That means the URL user try to access is not found in this server, and the status code will be 404. So this will run only when not any of the route is matched with the user request. That's it. And then we are going to run our global error handling. So this will run all the routes that are not defined in the app and will throw an error. And here in the global middleware, we're going to use app.use, and we're going to pass our global error handler. That's it. And make sure you import the app error from our utils. Awesome. So now this will give us error if the route is not defined here, and it will also handle our global error also. Awesome. Next, let's go to the server.ts, and in the server.ts, after the .end here, I'm going to use process dot on, and we're listening for the uncaught exception. If any uncaught exception error happens, we'll get the error. And here I'm going to console log that the uncaught that uncaught uncaught exception, and then we're going to use shutting down. So we're going to console log this, and then we're going to add another console log, and we're going to console log the error dot name and error dot message, and then I'm going to use process dot exit and password. So this will handle our uncaught exception errors. And then at the bottom we're going to use process dot on, and here we're going to handle our unhandled rejection. We'll get the error, and inside this we're going to console log, and here we're going to use unhandled rejection, shutting down. That's it. And then we're going to console log error dot name and error dot message. That's it. And then we're going to use server dot close. We're going to use the process dot exit one. So this is our unhandled rejection. So this will work better for our error handling. So now we have a error handling mechanism in our project that will handle the error correctly and properly and show us the error message and other things. So our error handling mechanism is completed. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some folder inside my backend. So first I'm going to create a model folder, and then I'm going to create a routes folder, and then I'm going to create a middlewares middlewares folder. So we have controller, middlewares, and model folder and route folder. So first I'm going to create a user model. So let's go to the model, and here I'm going to user model.js. So this will be our user schema. So this schema will contain the data types the user will contains, for example, the name, the data type of the name, email, password, and all the fields that the user will have. So this is the schema. So here in the user model, I'm going to first create a user schema constant, and then I'm going to use new Mongoose, and we're going to import it. So we can just use that Mongoose, and we're going to require it from Mongoose, and here new Mongoose dot schema, and we're going to call it, and we're going to pass some value here. So first we have name. The user will contain a name and the name type will be string and the required will be true and trim will be true. Trim means we are going to remove any white spaces. Then we have email. Here the type will be string. Then the required will be true and then the unique will be true. So the email must need to be unique and the lowercase, so lower case will be true and then we're going to use validate and here we're going to use an array and here we're going to use validator. So first let's import validator here. So const, if you remember, we install a validator. So validator and we're going to require this from validator and here we're going to use the validator and dot is email we're going to check if it is email and if it is not an email we are going to pass an error message. The error message is please provide a valid email. That's it. Then after the email we'll have password and in the password the type will be string. Then after the password we have after the type we have required will be true and here we are going to pass a message and say something like please provide a password. That's it. And then the mean length the mean length will be 8 and select will be false. That's it. Next we have password confirm and here I'm going to copy this two line first and paste it here. So here the type will be string and the required will be true and the text will be please confirm your password. So please confirm your password. That's it. Then we're going to use a validator. We're going to use a validate, not validator, validate. We're going to use validate and inside this we're going to use a validator and we are going to use a function. We'll get the current element and here we're going to return L. The current element is equal to this dot password. That means we are comparing our password confirm to our this dot password and if it is not true we are going to send a message and the message will be passwords are not the same. That's it. Then after the password confirm we will have a role, and inside this role we have a type of string, and then enum. So we are going to use enum that the role can only be a user or a admin, and the default user is users. That's it. So this is our role. Then what we are going to do is we are going to use question. So in the normal user data, we are going to add a property which is questions, and inside this we are going to add the question that the user asked. So in the questions properties, the asked question will be added for a user, and here inside this the type will be mongoose dot schema dot types dot object id, and then the reference will be question. The question model is not ready yet, but we are going to also create the question model. So the questions will use this question type. Awesome. Then here we are going to add a timestamp to true that will track down the time the user is created. That's it. So this is the user schema, and here after all of this I'm going to create a user, and I'm going to use mongoose dot model and pass the user model, and we're going to use user and pass the user schema. That's it. And then I'm going to use const user, not const, sorry. Here we're going to use module dot exports, and we're going to export the user. That's it. And here we're also going to add two method here. So first one is to hash our password. We're going to done it here so we can use it later. So first we're going to use hash password. So we're going to use user schema dot pre-hooks. So here we are using a pre-save hooks. That means these pre-save hooks will run before the user is created. That means let's say a user is creating an account with a password of 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So this password will be encrypted just before the user is created and stored in the database. So that's why we're using a pre-save hooks. And here we're going to use an async function, and inside this we are going to check if not this dot is modified password, then we're going to return. That means if the password is not modified, then we're going to just return. Otherwise, let's first import the bcrypt. That's why we're going to use the bcrypt.js. So const bcrypt equal to require bcrypt checks. And here we are going to use this dot password will be await bcrypt dot hash, and we're going to pass our this dot password and a solved value of 12. So this means how strong the encryption will be. So 12 is the standard value. You can add other value also, but the recommended one is 12. And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this dot password confirm, and we're going to make it undefined because we do not need to save it in our database because we already match the password and the password confirm. That's it. So this is our hash password. Here I'm going to create another function which is this one is called methods, and this method will compare our password. So when we start working with login, we need to compare the user password and the password that is saved in the database. But here the problem is the user password is in the raw format, for example like this, but in the database the password is something like this, the encrypted password. So we need to somehow encrypt the user password and the password that is stored in the database. So for that reason, we are going to create a method here so that we can use it later to compare our user input password to the user password that is stored in the database, the encrypted one. So here we're going to use methods method to compare passwords. So here I'm going to use user schema dot methods, and I'm going to name it correct password, and this one will be an async function async function async function, and we will get the candidate password and the real password. So we are going to pass the password input by the user and the real password stored in the database, and then we're going to return await bcrypt dot compare, and we're going to pass the candidate and the real. This will return true or false based on the comparison. That's it. Awesome. So this is our user model. Our user model is now completed. Next, we are going to create the question model. In the model, I'm going to create a question model.js, and here I'm going to use const question schema will be new Mongoose so let's remove this and new Mongoose dot schema, and here inside this first we have question. The question will be a type string. Question will be type string, and required will be true, and we're going to pass a message question is required. Then we are going to use trim, and the trim will be true, and the mean length will be 5. This is our question. Then we have a optional name from front end per question. So this is the name that the user will provide before asking the question. So this will be the display name, and here the type will be string. The type will be string. Display name type will be string. We're going to trim it. The trim will be true. Then max length will be 50, and the default will be null. That's it. Then we're going to use the real user. This is for admin reference. So this is just for the admin to see who asked the question. So asked by, and in the asked by, the type will be mongoose dot schema dot types dot object id, and the reference will be user, and this one is required to true. We must need to pass the user that asked the question. Then we have the admin answer. So the answer, here the answer, the type will be string. Answer type will be string, and default will be null. That's it. After the answer, we are going to use the answer answered by and here in the answered by, the so this one will basically this. The answer by type will be mongoose.schema.types.object_id. The reference will be user, and the required is, and we do not need the required here. We just use the default will be null. That's it. Then we're going to use the status, and we're going to use type string, and enum. So this can be unanswered or answered. That's it. Default will be unanswered. That's it. And here we're going to pass a timestamp true to track down the time the question is created. And then we're going to add a filtering, which is the newest first. And here we're going to use question schema dot index, and here we're going to use created at -1. Then I'm going to use const question will be just like this one. So I'm going to copy this from here and paste it here. So this one will be question and question schema, and here this one will be question. That's it. So this is our question model. Our question model is also completed. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add admin to our project. In our project, we have only one admin, and we're going to add the admin in our environment variable, the admin credentials, and we will have a separate controller and login form for the admin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a admin email and admin password in our config file. Only using this credential a admin can log in. So in this project there will be only one admin, that is you, and you will add your email and your password here, which you are going to use to log in as a admin. So here first I'm going to create an admin email and admin password. So here for admin email, let's use example @ gmail.com, and then for the password let's say example @1234. That's it. So this will be our admin email and admin password. Now we need to build something to somehow add our admin to our database, because there will be no route for the admin to create their admin account. We're going to manually add the admin to the database. So to add the admin in the database, we're going to create a seedadmin.js file. So in our backend, I'm going to create a seedadmin.js. So this will add our admin to our database. So here what I'm going to do is first I'm going to require .n and then .config, and here we're going to pass the path for our configuration file, which is /config.n. So this is our environment variable setting, so that our admin email and admin password is accessible. Then we need to connect our database. So here in the server, I'm going to copy this DB code from here to database connection code, and I'm going to paste it here. And before that, I'm going to import Mongoose, and I'm going to require it from Mongoose, and then we are going to import the user model, and we're going to require this from dot slash model slash user model, and we're going to import the app error, and we're going to require this from dot slash utils slash app error. That's it. And then we're going to replace our database strings where the password will be replaced with database password, and then we're going to connect our database here. After connecting our database, we're going to create a seed admin file, seed admin function, and this will be an async function. And inside this function, first we are going to check if we already have the admin information or the admin added to our database. So const existing admin, we are going to await user dot find one, and we're going to find using email, and here the email will be process dot inv dot admin email. That's it. So this will find if any existing admin is in our database. Then we're going to check if existing admin, if we already have admin, then we're going to console log, and we're going to console log that admin already exist, and we are going to use process dot exit. We're going to exit the operation. If the admin is not added in our database, in that case we're going to use const admin. We're going to create a dummy admin, and we're going to await user dot create. We're going to create a admin user. The name will be super admin. You can name it anything you want. You can name your name here, and the email will be process dot env dot admin email, and the role will be admin. Then the password will be process dot env dot admin password. That's it. And password confirm will be this password. That's it. So this is our admin, and this user dot create will create a admin in our database. Then here we are going to console log that admin created, and we're going to log the admin, and then we're going to use process dot exit. That's it. And finally, we're going to call our seed admin function here. That's it. Now we just need to run this file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate it. We're going to add another terminal here, and I'm going to it already in the CD backend. And here I'm going to run node seed admin.js, and I'm going to hit enter, and DB connection successful, and the admin created. So here you can see the admin created. The name is super admin, the email here, the password, the encrypted password, the role, and the question, and all of this. So our admin is created perfectly. Now what you can do, you can just remove this admin log here. And now if you again try to add the admin, let's see what happened here. And you can see admin already exists. That means our error handling also works here. Now let's go to our MongoDB. So this is our MongoDB project. And here, if I click here to browse collections, it will open the collections for our project. So it's loading the cluster, and it's loading the cluster. And here you can see we have Q&A, YT, and inside this we have a users, and inside this users we have our admin. How cool is that? You now have admin added to your database, your MongoDB database. So here you have the name, the email, the encrypted password, and you can see our encryption works perfectly here. The role, the question, the created and updated. Awesome. So that means we successfully able to add our admin to our database. Next, what we need to do is we need to add a authentication system so that the admin can log in. So what I'm going to do is in controller, I'm going to create a admin controller, admin auth controller.js. Now in the admin auth controller.js, what I'm going to do is I'm going to export dot admin login. So I'm going to exporting a file admin login. And here at the first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use our catching function. And so let's import the catching here. So const catch async, and we're going to require this from dot slash from our utils slash catching. And we're going to wrap our admin login using this catching so that we do not need to use the try catch block again and again. So here I'm going to catching, and inside this we'll have an async function, and inside this async function we have our request, response, and next, and then inside this we will get the email and password from our request dot body. So when the admin login, they need to provide the correct email and password, and this email and password will be available in the request dot body. That's it. Next we are going to check if there is no email or there is no password. In that case we are going to return call our next middleware, and we are going to use new app error, and we're going to import it, and we need to send a message which is please provide email and password, and we need to pass the status code. So for this one will be 400. That's it. And then if the email and password is available, we're going to find the admin using await user model. So we're going to use the user model, we're going to import it, and we're going to find one. We are going to find this using the email, and the role will be admin. So we are finding the admin using the email, and the role needs to be admin. And then we're going to dot select, and we're going to just select the password. That's it. This is our admin. Now we're going to check if there is no admin, if the database contains no admin using this email, then or we're going to add another condition, or we're going to use not, and we're going to await, we're going to use admin dot, and we're going to use our method. The method we add in our model, which is the correct password. So I'm going to copy this from here, and we're going to use admin dot correct password, and we're going to pass the password in the database and admin dot password. So this is the password that user type, and this is the password that is saved in the database. And if the password is not matched, then we are going to return next a new app error, and we're going to use invalid admin credentials, and we're going to pass 401. That's it. And if everything is okay, then we need to send a response. But here we're going to send the response using token also and cookies. So here after the authentication, we are going to send the cookie in our front end so that we can use the cookie here. For that reasons, we are going to create a function that will send our response along with the token. So here to send the response with cookie, I'm going to create a separate helper function. So in the utils, I'm going to create a function called auth helper. Auth helper.js. And here, first I'm going to import JWT and require JSON web token. That's it. Next, we're going to first create a sign token function that will generate a token, and we're going to pass the ID here, and using this ID we're going to generate the token. Now here we're going to use JWT dot sign, and then inside this we're going to use the ID, and we're going to also need some environment variable here. So let's go to the config.n, and here we need is JWT secret, then we need JWT expires in, and we also need JWT cookie expires, and for the secret you can use anything you want as your secret. So I am using this as my JWT secret. And then for the JWT expire in will be 90 days, and JWT cookie expire in will be 90. So this is our JWT secret, JWT expires in, and cookie expires. Now let's go to the auth helper, and here after passing the ID we're going to use process dot inf dot, and here we're going to add our JWT secret. So I'm going to copy it from here and paste it here, and then we're going to, it's another object, and here the expires in will be process dot inf dot JWT. So let's copy it from here. This is the JWT expires in, so copy it and paste it here. That's it. So this will generate a token. Next, I'm going to create a create send token here, and here we will receive a user, a status code, then we are going to receive a response and a message, and inside this first we are going to generate the token using the sign token, and we are going to pass user dot id, and then so that's it, we just need to pass the id here. So this will generate a token. Then we're going to use ref dot cookie, and we're going to name our cookie token, and then we're going to pass our token, and then we're going to add some options. So first the expires will be new date, and inside this new date we're going to use date dot now, and we're going to call it, and we're going to add process dot in dot, and we're going to add the JWT cookie expire here. Cookie expires, let's see, cookie expires, and then we're going to multiply it with 24, 16, 16, and 1000. That's it. This is our expires now, and then the HTTP only will be true, the secure will be process dot env dot node env if it is production. So in the production, we're going to make it secure, and then the same side we're going to check if it is production. If it is production, then we're going to use same site none, otherwise same site will be lax. That's it. So this is our cookie setting. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use user dot password will be undefined, because at that moment we do not need our password anymore. And then we are going to use res.status will be the status code that the user sent, that we are going to send here dot json, and here the status will be success, the message, and the data will be user. That's it. So this will create a token, and this will configure the cookie, and finally it will send the response. Now here I'm going to use module dot exports, and we're going to export create send token and sign token. That's it. So this is our auth helper. Now let's go to the admin auth controller, and here now we're going to use create send token, and we're going to pass the admin, then the status code will be 200, then we're going to pass the response, and the message will be admin login successful. That's it. So this is our admin login. Now we need to add this controller function to the route, because without the route this function will do nothing. So the plan is we are going to add a route, something like slash admin slash login, and by hitting this route this function will run and check everything. So first I'm going to create a routes here, and I'm going to name it admin routes.js, and here first I'm going to import express and require express, and then I'm going to create a router using express dot router. That's it. And then we are going to use module dot exports, and we're going to export the router from here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my app.js, and here at the top I'm going to import, so const admin route, admin router, and we're going to require this from dot slash controller slash, not controller, sorry, so require dot slash routes slash admin route. That's it. Now here where we actually add our routes here. So let's go here. So I'm going to n dot use, and here the route will be API slash v1 slash admin, and we're going to add our admin router. So using this part will be common for all the admin routes that we are going to create. So for admin route, the default route will be something like that: localhost 8000 slash API slash v1 slash admin. This part will be common for all the admin route. And for example, if I go to the admin route here and let's add our login. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to use router dot post, and we're going to use slash login, and we're going to use admin login, and we're going to import the admin login. That's it. Now by using this slash login, this will be added here. So after the admin, this will be slash login. And in the admin route, if I create another one, we can create something like logout and all of this. So basically this part will be common, and then we can add the extended part in our admin route. So this is our admin route, and we added the admin route here. Next, we need to test it. We're going to test if our admin route works perfectly or not, if it is working or not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a application called Postman. So this is the Postman. I'm going to use Postman to test our API endpoints. So here I'm going to add a request here. So these ones at https localhost 8000 slash API slash b1 slash admin slash login, and this will be a post request, and in the body where we need to pass the raw data in the JSON format. So here we're going to pass our body, our email, and we are going to pass our password. Sorry, password. Now the email is example at the rate gmail.com, and for the password let's use 1234567 a wrong password. Now if I click here to send the request, and you can see invalid admin credential. That means our error handling works perfectly here. Now let's add our actual password, which is example at the rate 1234. Now if I click here to send, and now you can see status is successful, admin login is successful. In the data we have our user information, the ID, the name, the email, the role, and all of this. And you can see here the password and password confirm field is missing because we do not need it here. And here if you notice that we have one cookie, this is the token and the value is this. So this is our token. Awesome. That means now we have successfully created our admin in the database, and we also implemented a admin login functionality. Awesome. So in the Postman you can save it in a collection and all of this, but I'm not going to do it here. So this is our admin functionality. So our admin functionality is completed. Next, we are going to implement the user controller, where we are going to implement the user auth controllers and other user controller functions. So first I'm going to create a controller here and I'm going to name it user controller.js, and then in the routes I'm going to create a user routes.js because we need the user routes. And in the user route, first I'm going to import the express require express, and then I'm going to create a router using express dot router, and I'm going to use module dot export, and I'm going to export the router. That's it. Now we're going to add this in our app. So let's go to the app, and here at the top I'm going to import the user router. So require dot slash routes slash user routes, and here we're going to use amp dot use, and we're going to slash API slash v1 slash users, and then we're going to use our user router. That's it. So this is our admin routes and this is our users route. Now we are going to create our user auth controller. So let's go to the user controller here. So first we will have user sign up, and here I'm going to export dot sign up, and I'm going to use catch async, and we're going to wrap our, so this comment will be here, and inside this catch async we will have our async function with request response and next, and then inside this we'll get our name, email, password, and password confirm, and we're going to get this from request dot body. So the user will need to pass the name, email, password, and password confirm. The front end will send this information in our backend. Next we're going to do a basic validation, and here I'm going to use if we don't have name, or we don't have email, or we don't have password, or we don't have password confirm, then we're going to return next. We're going to use new app error, and we're going to import it, and the message will be all fields are required, and the code will be 400. That's it. Then we are going to check if the user already exists. Already exists. So here we're going to create a variable existing user, and we're going to await. We're going to use our user model, and we're going to find one. So we're going to find one, and we're going to find one using the email, if we have existing user, that means if we already have a user using this email, we're going to send a error message. So we're going to return, we're going to use next new app error, and we're going to pass the message that email already in use, and we're going to pass 409 as a error message. That's it. Then we're going to create the user. So create the user, and here const new user will be await user dot create, and here we're going to pass the name, the email, the password, confirm, and the role will be user. That's it. So these are user. Then we are going to send JWT and response with cookie. So here we are going to use our function, the util function, which is create send token, and we are going to use a new user. Then the code will be 201, and the message will be sign up successfully. Sign up successful. That's it. So this is our sign up function. Now we need to add this in our route. So let's go to the user route, and here I'm going to use router dot post, and we're going to slash sign up, and we're going to call our sign up function. That's it. Now we're going to check this in our Postman. So let's go to the Postman, and here now we're going to change this to v1 slash users slash sign up, and this one will be a post request, and in the body we're going to pass a email. So let's use, and then we also need to pass the name, and let's use my name, then password, then password confirm. So here let's say password is 123456789, and here use 1234567. That means our password and password confirm is not the same. Now if I click here to send a request, and here we have a user validation failed, password confirm. Passwords are not the same. That means we correctly get our error message. Now let's use the same password here. So 1234567. Now if I click here to send, and here we have raise.cookie is not a function. So here I think we have some issues. So let's go to the user controller, and here I think after the code we need to pass the response here also. So now if I click here to save, and if I go to our collection here, and if I refresh, and let's go to the QNAYT, and let's go to the user, and we already have added to this user, but the response is not sent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete it from here, and now let's create the user again. So if I click here to send, Now the user is created. Now the status is success, message is signed up successfully, and in the data we have user with name, email, role, questions, ID created and updated. Awesome. So we successfully created the sign up function for user. Awesome. Next, we are going to implement the login functionality for the user. So login, user login, user login. So here I'm going to exports dot login and I'm going to catch async, and here I'm going to use async, and I'm going to use rec res and next, and then inside this we're going to get the email and password from a rec dot body. Then we're going to check email and password fields. So here I'm going to check if there is no email or there is no password. In that case, we're going to return next new app error, and the message is please provide the email and password, and the code will be 400. That's it. After checking the email, we're going to find the user and include the password. So here const user will be await, and we're going to use our user model dot find one, and we're going to find using the email, and we're going to dot select, we're going to select password. That's it. Then we're going to validate user and user password. So here we're going to check if there is no user, or we're going to check if not. So here we're going to use our compare function. So we're going to use await user dot, and the function that we created is this, the method, the correct password. So copy their name and user dot correct password, and here we're going to pass the password from the user, and we're going to pass user dot password. That's it. And if it's not true, then we're going to return next new app error, and the message is invalid email or password, and the code will be 401. That's it. Then we are going to block our admin from user login. The admin will not able to log in using the user login because the admin has a separate login functionality and login page. So here we're going to take if user dot role is equal to admin, then we're going to return next new app error, and here we're going to use admins must log in via the admin login route, and the code will be 403. That's it. If it match all the conditions, then we are going to send response and cookie. So here we're going to use create send token, and I'm going to use user and 200 for the code. Then the response and the message is login successful. That's it. So this is our login functionality. Let's add this in our user route. So in the user routes, we're going to use router dot post, and this one will be slash login, and the function will be login. So this one. If I hit save, and let's go to our Postman. So here we're going to change this from sign up to login, and in the raw data we do not need the name here, we just need the email and password. So first let's use a invalid password. Now if I click here to send, and you can see invalid email or password or error handling works. Let's use the correct password now, and if I click here to send, now you can see success, login successful, and we get the correct user. Awesome. So this is our login functionality. Our user login functionality works properly. Next, we are going to implement the logout functionality. So here I'm going to use logout. So user logout, and here I'm going to export dot logout, and here we'll get the request response, and inside this we are going to use the cache sync here, and inside this we are going to use async request response and next, and inside this we are going to use res dot cookie, and the cookie name is token, and we're going to make it empty, and inside this we're going to use expires will be new date and 0, and then http only true. That's it. And let's check what we use as our token name in our create send. So token. So let's go to the user controller, and then we're going to use res dot status 200, and we're going to use .json, and the status will be just success. That's it. Now we are going to add this in our user route. So in the user route we are going to use router dot post, and this one will be slash logout and logout. That's it. Now if I go to our Postman, and here change it to logout, and we do not need to pass anything here. And now if I click here to send, you can see status success, and now we don't have any cookies from the server. Awesome. So our logout functionality is also completed. Next, we are going to create a controller function to get all the users. So here we're going to create a function to get all the users, and here I'm going to use exports get all user, and I'm going to use catch async, and here I'm going to use async function, and request response and next, and then inside this we're going to get the user. So const user, we're going to await user dot find, and we're going to find, so here we're going to find all the user except the admin, because admin is not a user. That's why we're going to remove the admin from the user. So here I'm going to use email, and email is here not equal, that means not equal, and then process dot env dot admin email. So we're going to remove the user that have the admin email. That's it. And then we're going to dot select, and we're going to select, we're not going to select the password, and password confirm. That's it. And then we're going to populate the user information, populate the question for the user. So if you remember the user model contains a question part where it is a type of Mongoose schema type object ID, and the reference is question. So we are populating the question so that it shows the actual question data here. So let's go here. So populate, and inside this populate, the path will be questions, and that's it. The path will be question, and then we're going to sort it, and sort it is in created at -1. That means the latest users first. So this is our users, and here I'm going to use res dot status. It will be 200 dot json, and inside this the status will be success, and the results will be users dot length, and the data will be users. That's it. So this is our function to get all users. Now let's go to the user route, and here the router dot get and slash all and get all user. That's it. So now if I hit save and go to our Postman, and if I use all and the request is get request, and now if I click here to send, here we have an error that schema hasn't been registered for model question, missing schema for model question. So here somehow the question model is creating a error. So let's go here, the populate path questions. So here I figure out the problem. The problem is we need to import the question model here. So let's use const question required dot slash model slash question model. So now if I hit save, now if I click here to send the request, and now you can see we have successful. We have one user and then we have the user data. Awesome. So that means we successfully get all the users in our database. Awesome. Next, we're going to create a controller to get the currently login user. But before implementing the controller for getting the currently login user, we need a middleware to check if the user is login or authenticated. Then we are going to send the request to get me, the get me controller. So let's first implement this, then I will explain this to you. So in the middleware, I'm going to create a is authenticated.js file, and here first I'm going to import JWT. So require JSON web token. Then I'm going to import the user from require dot slash model slash user model, then app error, and require dot slash utils slash app error, and then catch async require dot slash utils slash catch async. That's it. Then I'm going to create a const is authenticated function, and we're going to use our catch async here, and inside this we'll have our request, response, and next, and then we're going to get the token from rec.cookies. So here this one will be async, and then this. So let's rewrite this. I think something is missing here. Catch async, async, request, response, next, and here we'll get the token from rec.cookie dot cookies dot token, or we will get this from rec dot headers dot authorize authorization. So authorization, and we're going to split this using a space, and we'll get the second element. That's it. Then we're going to check if there is no token, then we're going to return next new app error. We'll pass the message which is you are not logged in. Please log in to access, and 401. That's it. Now if we have a token, we're going to decode the token. Decode it will be JWT dot verify. We're going to pass the token, and we're going to pass the process dot env dot JWT secret. That's it. And then we will get the current user using await and user dot find by id, and we're going to pass decoded dot id. So when we sign our token, here we use our id to create the token. So now when we decode it, we get the id, and using this id we are finding the currently login user. Now we are going to check if there is no current user, then we are going to return next new app error, and we are going to send the message the user belonging to this token does not exist, and the code will be 401. That's it. Then we are going to pass reg.user, and we're going to use the current user. So in the request we're creating a user, and we're storing our current user, and then we're going to call our next medallion. That's it. This is our is authenticated. Next we need to use module dot exports, and we're going to use is authenticated. That's it. And here I'm going to create another medallion function that we are going to use later, which is authorize role. So for the dashboard statistics, we do not allow the user to access the dashboard statistics. So in these types of case, the authorized roles come into the picture, and we will specify that this route will only be accessible by the admin, not by the user. So that's why I'm going to create a authorize roles.js here, and here I'm going to use const authorize roles, and here dot 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 we are going to pass the allowed roles, and here we're going to return rec res and next, and then inside this we're going to check if rec dot user, if not request dot user, then we're going to return res dot status 401 dot json, and the message will be not authenticated. That's it. Then we're going to check if not allowed roles, if the roles is not allowed here, if it is, it's dot includes rec dot user dot role, then if it is not allowed, then we're going to return, we're going to use res dot status 403 dot json, and here the message will be access denied, insufficient permission. That's it. And then we're going to call the next method. That's it. So this is our authorized roles.js. So here I'm going to use module, not model, module, not model, sorry. So let's remove this. This one will be module dot exports, and we're going to export the authorized role. That's it. So this is our two middleware. One is authenticated, and another one is authorized roles. So we are going to use this two middleware in our project also. Now let's go to the user controller. Now we're going to implement the get me function. So I'm going to use exports dot get me, and I'm going to use cache sync, and here request dot response dot next, and inside this first I'm going to block admin access, because admin doesn't need to get their account using this get me. So here we have a mistake. So cache sync async request response next, and here we're going to block the admin there. So we're going to check if rec dot user dot role is equal to admin, then we're going to return next new app error. The message will be admins are not allowed Here the code will be 403. That's it. Then we will get the user by await user dot find by id, and we're going to use reg dot user dot id, and we're going to select, and we're not going to use the password and password confirm, and then we're going to populate. So here we're going to populate the path. The path will be questions, and options will be sort. We're going to sort this using created at -1. That means the newest first. Newest first. That's it. Then we're going to check if there is no user. We're going to return next new app error. The code is user not found. The code will be 404. Otherwise, we're going to send the rest dot status will be 200 dot JSON. The status will be success, and the data will be user. So this is our get me controller. Now let's go to the user routes, and here in the user route we're going to use router dot get slash me, and here when the user hit this route, first we're going to run is authenticated middleware, and then we're going to run get me. So what will happen here when the user hit this URL, it will first go to the is authenticated function middleware, and this is the is authenticated. Then it will go through it, and if there is no token, it will immediately send an error, and this will not go to the get me function. And if everything okay, if the user is authenticated, then it will call the next middleware, and the next middleware in that case is this get me. Then it will go to the get me function, it will block the admin, it will get the user using this request user id, and then it will send the user as a response. So I'm not going to check it in the Postman, and I'm not going to check the other controller that we are going to create in the Postman because it will be time consuming. We're going to directly check this middleware, check this API, the controller and APIs, all of this in our front end. And if we face an error in the front end related to the backend, we are going to get back to our backend and fix the error. So this will more appropriate, I think, and we will need less time by doing this. So for now, our user controller is completed. Now we're going to build the dashboard controller, where we'll add a dashboard stats controller to get the statistics for the admin. So here in the controller, I'm going to create a dashboard controller.js, and here I'm going to export dot get dashboard stats, and I'm going to use catching, and I'm going to use async rec res and next, and then inside this first I'm going to find the users, and I'm going to use await user. I'm going to use user model to find, and we're going to find everyone except for the admin. So email will be not include, and here will be process dot env dot admin email. That's it. And we're going to populate. So populate path will be questions, and we're going to select question answer status and created at. That's it. So this will give us the users. Then we're going to create a total users will be users dot length. That's it. Then we will get the all questions using users dot flat map. We're going to use flat map method, and we'll get the user, and then user dot questions. That's it. Then we'll get the total questions will be all questions dot length. That's it. Then we will get the total answered. Total answered will be all question dot filter. We'll get the question, and we're going to check if question dot status is equal to answered, and we'll get the length. That's it. Then we'll get total pending. Total pending will be all questions dot filter. We'll get the individual question, and we'll get status is equal to unanswered, and we'll get the length. This will give us the total pending. Then we will get the response rate. So const response rate will get the total questions. If the total questions is equal to 0, then the response rate will be 0, and then here we'll get the total answered divided by total questions, and we're going to multiply it with 100 and dot to fixed. This will give us the response rate. Then we'll get the average question per user, and here we'll use total users. If it is equal to 0, then 0. Otherwise, total questions divided by total users and dot to fixed 2. This will give us the average questions per user. That's it. Then we are going to find the most active day. So here first I'm going to create a day counts. Will be an empty object. Then we'll add a answer day count. Will be another empty array. And then we're going to use all questions, and then we're going to use for each to get the question, and then here we're going to use const day new date q dot created at dot get day. We'll get the day from here, and we're going to use day counts. In the day position, we're going to add day count day, otherwise 0, and plus 1. That's it. Then we're going to take if q dot status is equal to answered, then we're going to use answer day count day answer day count day will be answer day count day value or 0 and plus 1. That's it. Then after this we'll create a let most active day. For now this will be null, and let most active count 0, and we're going to use for const day in day counts, and then we're going to check if day count day is greater than most active count, then we're going to use most active count will be day counts day, and most active day will be day. That's it. Then we are going to create a const weekends, weekdays. This one will be an array with Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So these are weekdays. Then we are going to prepare our chart data for front end. So here const chart data will be weekdays dot map will get day name and index, and inside this we'll get name will be day name, then questions will be day counts, index otherwise 0, and then answered will be answer day count, index otherwise 0. So this is our chart data. Then we will get the recent 5 questions. So const recent questions will be all questions dot sort will get a comma b, and new date b dot created at minus new date a dot created at, and then dot slice 0 to 5. That means first 5 question, recent question. That's it. Now we're going to send response. So res dot status will be 200 dot json, and status will be success, and then data will be total users, then total questions, then total answered, total pending, then response rate. So we're going to use template literal, and then response rate percentage, and then average question per user will be number average question per user, then most active day will be most active day. If it is true, then day will be weekdays, and the most active day. And question questions will be most active count, otherwise no. That's it. Then we are going to use recent questions and chart data. That's it. So this is our data dashboard stats function controller. So this will give us all the dashboard related information that we need. Now we're going to add this in our admin route. If you want, you can create a separate route for the dashboard, but I am going to add it in the admin just because it just have a one controller. So let's go to the admin route, and here router dot get, this is a get function, and slash dashboard stats. And first we're going to make sure if the user is authenticated to get this. So let's import, so const is authenticated require dot slash middleware slash is authenticated, and we are also going to import the authorize role require middleware slash authorize roles. That's it. And here we are going to add first the is authenticated, and then authorize roles, and only for the admin, and then we're going to pass our get dashboard stats. So this is our dashboard stats router to get the dashboard stats. So our backend is completed. We implemented all the model, all the routes, all the controllers. And next, we're going to start our front end. We are going to use this APIs in our front end. And if we face any error regarding the backend, we will come back to our backend and we are going to fix the backend error. So for now, our backend is completed.